Hi, I'm Edward Thompson. Welcome to today's episode of Pictures on My Mind. In today's episode, I'll be talking about a mythical place that maybe exists, maybe only in your mind, and that place is called Photoland. Okay, what is Photoland? I asked some people on Twitter what Photoland was and got some interesting responses. For me, when I started freelancing in London 20 years ago, I started to see the same groups hanging out at photo openings or winning awards or grants or in sort of specific bodies of photo organisations, and it seemed like a very small group. And what got really interesting with the advent of Facebook is you could really start to see the connections now, because they were literally plotting their social circle online, and you could see it. And you could see it when the judge gave the award to their boyfriend. And you could see it when someone who had like business links to another person got them funding or grants, it all became very clear. And obviously, there's corruption everywhere, right? Why would it not be in sort of the photo industry, no matter how small it is? So one of the glaring things that can strike you about Photoland is when you see the same photographers win all the photo awards throughout a year, okay? Like sweeping the boards. It's amazing. But last I checked, photography wasn't tennis. There's no like world #1 photographer. They don't get all the photographers together into a tennis court and are like, yeah, go, take the best photo. Oh, you win, you're the #1. It just doesn't happen. Here's one thing that I think might explain it. Well, two things actually. The first, imagine you're a judge on a photo award. For one, maybe you're not a very good judge. Maybe you just got it because you know someone or whatever. You're not really into photography. You're a mover and a shaker. You're into the niche that the photo award's to do with, a certain, certain theme of the award. You see photos come up on the big screen and you recognise them because you saw that they won an award previously. Oh, that's a good one because that's already a winner. Everyone loves a winner. Tick. Okay, so that could be happening. They could be just validating awards they've already seen. Something else that does happen I know of. I knew of a photographer who wanted to win a specific large photo award. They had a specific body of work and they made meetings. They found out who the judges were, and before the awards were announced, they made meetings with every single judge they could, showing them the work. Okay, essentially preloading them. So when those judges were sat there and they saw the photos coming up, they were like, oh, this looks good. Oh, I kind of like it. I kind of recognise it. Well, you do because you already saw it. Plus, they had inside knowledge of the story and the photographer's personality and their struggle of making the work and everything. And of course, that's a big part to play as well. So again, this stuff does go on. The other big thing that could be a bit like cabalish about Photoland is like, yeah, that photographer was able to gain the award by finding the judges, but they could apply. They were allowed to apply. Loads of the top photo awards and grants you can't even apply. You have to be chosen by a specific group of individuals who've been deemed nominators for that award, right? So again, that's not great. I was in an event in London and there were loads of photographers from outside London, and there was like this big photo editor guy, and some of them were saying, hey, I live in Glasgow, should I move to London? And he was like, yes, you must come to London, you must be seen, you have to be seen. And I was like, that's terrible advice. Do you know how much it costs to live in London? Do you know how many photographers there are in London? And in my head, I was trying to sort of advise the young photographer, like, stay in Glasgow because there are great stories in Glasgow. If editorial needs a photographer, you're already in Glasgow and they're so cheap, they're not going to pay to send a photographer there. These are all things I was thinking that I was right. Now, 20 years later, maybe I was wrong, because that photo editor, as slimy as it was like, you need to be seen. Well, you do need to be seen. Because this little Photoland cabal, if they aren't aware that you exist, if you're not hanging out and socialising at their events, they don't know you exist, okay? So it's pretty crap, but it's one of those things. Even when I was in that game like 20 years ago in London, because of working, because of commitment to friends and family, and also trying to make loads of photography and freelance, I couldn't be at loads of the openings, There was no way I could do it. So again, it's essentially time poverty, isn't it? Who are the kinds of people who can make all the photography projects and be at every opening and at every photo festival? Unfortunately, you know the answer, man. They're all independently wealthy because there's no other way they could be doing it. They couldn't be doing a 9-to-5 job and making the great photography and going to all the openings and doing the photo show social. There's not enough time in the world. So one of those things has to be dropped out. Yeah, okay, maybe they're sociopaths and they've got no friends and family they want to hang out with. But still, man, they need money to make all this work. So again, on this sort of touching on photo festivals, obviously they're all over the world. And again, the kind of guy who was like, yeah, you need to be seen. These people expect you to be at all these photo festivals all around the world. And how the hell are you going to finance that? So again, it's another sort of push in the way of like the photographers who are just loaded and they just almost, you know, it's weird, right? It's like they're just wealthy hobbyists, but they have so much money. They're able to facilitate making the work, traveling the world, being seen. And again, it can be, you know, how are you going to come up against these people? I mean, it's not a competition, but the odds are definitely in their favor. Now, because of this, you know, all these things going on, it can feel like there's a lot of cronyism going on. And yeah, by all means there is, but some of it is just so wild. Like, I've seen photo awards, top photo awards for photography, and they gave the prize to a video artist who made a video, okay? I've seen a documentary photography prize go to a photographer who did fake documentary photos, and they won. And the winner for Best Documentary Film goes to Star Wars.
And may the farce be with you.
It's, you know, you kind of have to laugh at it because it is so ridiculous. And that's just how they get to carry on. But yeah, again, you know, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that, because it can feel like there is this group, there is this cabal, there is this thing called Photoland. But really it's just like small little pockets of corruption. And because you're not able to play the game, because you can't afford to essentially be in their little club, you're not going to be included. And that's kind of crap. But at the same time, is it? I mean, the one great thing about photography is if you can just keep doing it, eventually people will see your work and you will be seen and you will break through. And like, looking back over the last 20 years, I'm seeing photographers who are pretty pushy and aggressive and they got their work out there. And then that was it. You never heard from them again. And you know why? Because the work was weak. And they just were like, yeah, look at this amazing thing. And it wasn't amazing at all. So the real takeaway of this is that Photoland doesn't exist, okay? It can seem from the outside like a cabal, like a group, like something's going on. But the bottom line is, man, it's just a bunch of kind of wealthy people hanging out and having jollies, okay? That's it. They're the people who can afford to be at all the openings. They're flying all around the world at the photo festivals, okay? Maybe it's part of their job, so fair enough, like they're editors or whatever, and that's covered. But all the photographers, like, how are they affording that, right? So yeah, it's a tricky game, but it's the game. The good news is the kind of photographers who are very aggressive and pushy and trying to promote their work really early on, yeah, they get it out there, but then they fall flat. You know why? The work was weak. It was no good. They spent all their time socializing, networking. They weren't doing the work, okay? And that's where you can clear up in the end. My old tutor, Paul Lowe, he always used to say, photography is a marathon, not a sprint. Just focus on making the work, okay? Eugene Smith said, the work is the reward, okay? You will get there. And yeah, you know, right? You might win some photo award and feel pretty good about yourself, but does it compare to the feeling when you get an amazing photograph? No, because you know what it is. You know what's great. You know it's a great photograph. Do you need someone to tell you it's great? Maybe you do, but hopefully you don't, okay? So the takeaway also is that all these people you feel like you're in Photoland who might have power over you, sort of curators, gallerists, photo editors, they come and go. The people who were sort of swinging it around London 20 years ago, most of them just disappeared. Some of them took promotion, some of them went into different fields. In your heart, if you're a photographer, that's it for life, right? You're a photographer now. That's not going to change. So yeah, don't worry, they're going to come and go, you're going to stay. You'll get there. You just gotta keep grafting. And don't worry about Photoland. It doesn't really exist anyway. And now for my next video coming up, Photoland, it really exists.
Surprise, motherfucker.